So I wanted you to put it in your cylinder. That will be helpful.
Okay. I meant to look up something before Shia. I forgot. Okay. All right. So, yeah. Island's not on yet. How's my hard drive doing, Parrots? Schwach?
I don't know what is going on. Maybe it's my computer, but so far 3 hard drives is not recognizing it.
I think a lot of people are watching what's going on in the Senate right now, so they might not sign on.
You got to be kidding.
Nope.
What happened to Rabban Horowitz? Wasn't he on?
Yeah. He was just here.
On his iPad, I see him. Yeah. Okay. What's going on in the Senate?
They're talking about what went on today and what's going to happen.
Oh. Okay.
They want to see, maybe take a 10-day break and try to investigate what happened. So everybody's screaming at each other now. Trump caused this. He didn't cause it. This is a constitutional right to do it.
Sounds very interesting. Okay. Anyways, the chazah from yesterday. So trumah and nazir are 2 psukim, right? Shnei ksum and abayin ke'echad. Right, and the Machlokes Rabban and Rebbe Kiva whether there was a need for this or not. So maybe you can't learn out from it. Whether you can or cannot learn out from it. Then we said Isser and Heter. If you're combining Heter mitzaref leIsser, then you have to eat it at the same time, the food in the same time. If it's Isser and Isser, then they combine even if you eat one after the other. So if you eat a half a kezayis of nevela, half a kezayis of treifa, they will combine one after the other. Right, and then we had the whole sugi of the status of a dough that's in a bowl, and then the status of a bowl for tumah, which we're going to discuss tonight. So we said that the dough is only a problem if you hold it together. We had 2 versions of the Gemara, whether the dough is only a problem if it's holding, you want it there to hold the bowl together, or even if you don't hold the bowl together, even if you don't want it to hold the bowl together. So I was listening today to Rabbi Rosner's daf, and he said an interesting thing from the Rush. That's what I wanted to look up. He said a couple interesting things, which we'll discuss, but he brought from the Rush doesn't go through this whole sugya where on the utensil the dough is found, not found. He says because Klal Yisrael are tzaddikim. I don't know if the Lashon was, that's what I wanted to look it up, either tzaddikim or whatever it is, and we would never use a mixing bowl that has chametz in it on Pesach, so it's not negeya. So it's not negeya l'maisa, so the Rush wasn't going to write about it, right? Which is what we said, that nobody nowadays would ever use a mixing bowl on Pesach that's being held together with chametz. Even though we're talking about where the chametz is in the bowl, Jesse, and it's holding.
Oh, so it's not even cleaned. Okay, that's
correct.
Different.
No, it's not clean. It's part of the bowl. It's holding the bowl together, right? Try that at home. All right, try that at home.
Yaakov, do you think that the Rush's wife wrote that part of the Rush?
I don't know. I didn't look it up, so I didn't look it up, so I can't comment. But I would wonder, right? I would wonder.
That's where it all started from.
yeah. And then we said another chumrah. We said another kula that if you decide to be mavatal the chametz, meaning you decide to make your chametz into a bench or a chair, right? Shimon Gamliel says that since you were masiach das from it, and it's no longer as a din of chametz, right? So we had that kula, and then we said that if you have 2 kizesim of chametz, they could potentially combine in a house. So therefore, that's why you have to get rid of smaller than a kazayas. Which one thing we ran out of time to discuss yesterday is that when you put out the 10 pieces of bread by Pesach by night, eruv Pesach by night, right? So some say that it has to be more than a kazayas altogether, meaning all your bread altogether should be more than a kazayas, because otherwise there's no mitzvah to get rid of it. If it's less than a kazayas, you don't have to get rid of it, right? So, and they would combine. So, but altogether you should want to have all the pieces together be more than a kazayas, right? And then we said that chametz that gets decayed, as long as it's puzzle from, it should be puzzle from achilas kelev, not adam. I mean, every other has got to be puzzle from achilas adam. But for Pesach, it's got to be puzzle from achilas kelev, and that's because you could take a chametz that decays and use it as a starter to make bread, to make other doughs. And that's why you need to, if it's possible, mechilas kelev, then you're never going to use it for that, and therefore it would be okay. Right? Okay, so that's what we're up to. We're on the bottom of the, what is it? On Mem Hey Amud Beis on the bottom. We have we have an action-packed daf tonight. So where's Marchuck? He's not. Is he here? Okay, it's a geschmack daf. Amud Aleph is very geschmack. It's a bracha style daf.
I caught that.
Okay, good. I'm just making sure you're there to keep me in check. You know what I mean? And
very good.
Yeah. So let's see. V'chein. So the 3 lines up from the bottom on Mem Hey Amud Beis. Yeah. V'chein linyan tumah. Same thing by tumah. Makbid alav chametz v'im raitzu b'kiyumei reu kareva. So if you have dough that's in the bowl, chametz that's in the bowl. So if you're makbid that you don't want the dough there, then it's going to be a chatzitza. And if you want it there, then it's going to be part of the bowl, which the Mishna doesn't say exactly what that's referring to, right? It doesn't say what it's referring to. So therefore, we have to figure out what's referring to. So the Gemara says, "Mi dami, are the cases similar?" Hasam b'shiyura talim milzabai chametz. The whole thing is based on measurements, right? Is it a kizayis? Is it not a kizayis? Do you want it there? Do you not want it there? By tumah, it's tali and kepeda. Are you makbid or are you not makbid? Right? If you want it there, then you want it. If you want it there, then it's not a problem. If you don't want it there, then it's a problem. So what's the v'chein? Meaning the question of the Gemara now is on the word v'chein, and also it seems to be comparing apples and oranges, right? It's not v'chein. So Amar Rav Yehuda ema ule inyan hatuma einoi kain. So instead of taking the word v'chein in the Mishnah, now we're saying what it means is einoi kain. Hatuma, it's einoi kain. Amar le'abaya ha v'chein le'inyan tuma katani. It says v'chein le'inyan tuma. It doesn't say einoi kain. How can you say that v'chein means einoi kain? Right? So Elo Amar Abaya hachi kamar. This is what Abaya says. The Mishnah say v'chein le'inyan tziruf tuma pesach v'shvai Rosh Hashanah. Right? What it means is combining for tuma for during Pesach. Meaning we know the halach is, and we had this a couple of times, which is that in order for something to be makabel tuma, it has to be an egg's worth, right? If you don't, less than an egg can't become tummy. Right? So for chametz, we're saying that on Pesach, we're going to maybe say that the shear, the minimum shear, would adjust itself on Pesach, because on Pesach you're going to be makbid on something different. Let's see how it goes. Linyan tziruf tumah v'Pesach. It's talking about combining for the tumah, ika plugta, meaning and the rest of the year it's a machlokes. Now what does this mean? Hey chidami, what's the case? Kagain the ika pachas mikabeitza oichli. There's less than an egg's worth of eichlin, which here means dough, right? And then somebody tameh came and touched v'nogu b'hai batzik, and then somebody tameh came and touched this dough, right? But it's less than a kebeya. So b'Pesach the surei chashuv mitzdarif. So on Pesach, when the isur is considered chashuv, because on Pesach we go with a kizayis, so mitzdarif, it's going to combine. So therefore, meaning it's this chametz. It only touched the chametz. The question is, does it combine with the rest of the food in the bowl? So on Pesach, where it's chashuv, so it's going to combine. But the rest of the year, where it's based on whether he wants it or doesn't want it, in makbid alav mitzdarif. If he's makbid on it, then it's going to combine. And right to be kiyumei areu kareva. And if he does want it there, then it's going to be part of the bowl, and therefore it's not going to be considered. It's not going to combine with the dough. Meaning, it's all about whether on Pesach you're going to be more machmer to combine this dough. So that's the way Abaya is saying the pshat. So maskul Rava, so Rava asked the kasha Abaya, mikatanim mitzdarif. It doesn't say it combines in the Mishnah. It says chaitzitz. It's a chatzitza, right? So how could you say that the Mishnah is talking about combining when the lashon in the Mishnah means that the dough separates, right? Ela Amar Rava, so Rava has his own pshat. V'chein lahalis tyra la'areva. In order to make the bowl tahar, right? Before we're making the bowl tameh, according to Abaye. Rava is saying no, we're trying to make the bowl tahar. Hey chidami, what's the case? You're going to itmi hachareva. The areva, the bowl became tameh. Ubayla tvule bepesach. Ubayla tvule, and you come and you want to tovel it. Bepesach the isurei chashuv on Pesach that the isur is chashuv, right? Because it's a much smaller amount on Pesach. Chaitz, so therefore it's a chatzitza. But like salkala tefillah, and tefillah doesn't work, right? But on other days of the year, b'kpei the talia mills, it's all tali whether you want it there or not. We makbid love chaitz. If you're makbid, it's chaitz. It's been right to be kiyumai, and if you want it there in the bowl, hareu ka'areva. So it's like the areva. Again, this is the standard. We discussed it yesterday. It's kedai to mention it again. I get this shaila every day, but it came up a couple of times today where somebody toveled something with a sticker on it. They want to know if they have to re-tovel it. That's exactly the shaila. Here the bowl became tameh. Now he wants to tovel it on Pesach. The question is, there's dough there. Is it a chatzitz or not? So the whole year round, all you're going to ask the person is, do you want the dough there or not? If you want the dough there, it's not a chatzitz, so you're good to go. Like we ask nowadays, you want the sticker on there or not? If you want the sticker on the kli, you don't have to tovel it again. If you don't want the sticker on the kli, then you have to tovel it again. Right? So for Pesach, we're saying it would be tali, because meaning all year round, we're going to ask if you want it or not. But on Pesach, we're going to say that it's tali in the shear of chametz, meaning because if it's a shear of chametz, you don't want it there on Pesach. So maybe on Pesach you'd have to be more strict. Fine. So then Maskal Papa, Mikatani v'chein linyan tyra. Does it say v'chein linyan tyra? It says who? Linyan tuma katani. It's halinian tameh katani. It says linyan tuma. It doesn't say linyan tyra. So now Rava's pshat also is not good. Rav Papa says a third pshat. V'chein linyan lahayrid tuma la'areva. To put tuma onto the areva. When you want to know if the bowl becomes tameh. Hey chidami, what's the case? The noga sheretz b'hai botzik b'pesach. So I'm sorry. The noga sheretz b'hai botzik. A sheretz touched this dough. The pesach the isurei chashuv chaytzitz on Pesach where the isur is chashuv. Then it's chaytzitz. It makes a chatzitz of a loy nachas about tuma, and it's not tuma's not going to go onto the bowl because again the sheretz touched the dough. The dough is separating between the sheretz and the bowl. So now is the bowl tameh. So the question is this dough part of the bowl? So on Pesach, we're going to say, oh, we don't want this dough there. Right? So if you don't want this dough there, then it's a chatzitza, and therefore it's not considered, the sheretz is not considered touching the bowl. Right? But in the rest of the year, where it's tali in the kfeda, im makbid alav chaytzitz. If you makbid on it, you're chaytzitz, and roitze b'kiyumai, harehu kareva. But if you want it there, then it's considered part of the bowl. And therefore, if the sheretz touches the dough, then the bowl becomes tameh. So those are the three pshatim in how we understand the Mishnah. Yeah, again, but the main yesod is do we change the measurement of dough on the bowl because it's Pesach, right? If that's the basic shilas. It's three ways. It's either combining the dough with the other food. That's Abaye's pshat. Rava's pshat is that you're toveling it, and the question is the dough a chatzitza? And Rav Papa's pshat is that the other way around, that we're trying to figure out if the bowl becomes tameh or not. Fine. Okay. Next Mishnah. Yeah, this is very important. I don't know, very important, but it came up this week. Came up in the Monday night kitzur shir, that's for sure. And yeah, so batzek hacherish. So if you have batzek, literally, it means that's deaf, right? You know that Mishnah, Simcha? Okay. Batzek hacherish, dough that's deaf. So we don't know what the chametz status is. Meaning, what does it mean by deaf? You don't know. Rashi says it's not recognizable whether it's chametz or not. The chametz, the chimutz, meaning how do you call it? The leavening process, I guess, right?
Fermentation,
I guess that would be your word. Yeah, something like that. Is is it stopped. So you have no idea if it became chametz or not. So if you have a dough that's similar to this, and it became chametz, so then you did two doughs at the same time. One stopped becoming chametz, and one continued on. So whatever that amount of time would be, then it would be then we would consider this also chametz. Meaning basically you're going to look at its partner and see whatever its partner did, then that's what it's going to do. Right? So Zakti Gemara, but let's say you don't have bread. Let's say you don't have bread there. So what's the din? So Rab Shimon ben Lakish Adam Migdal Nunya Litveria Mil. It's the amount of time that it takes to walk from Migdal Nunya to Tveria, which is a mil. Right? So so it's a mil. Now a mil is 18 minutes. The basic mil is 18 minutes. Right? For name a mil, why don't you just say mil? Why are you saying the amount of time it walks from Migdal Nunya to Tveria? It's telling us that the shear of a mil is like from Migdal Nunya to Tveria. Right? Which again, that's what we say is 18 minutes. Of course, there's different opinions of how many minutes it is, but a mil is normally looked at like it's 18 minutes is around, it's 2,000 amas. Yeah, that's basically what we go with, 18 minutes, which is, if anybody wants to know what the source is for 18-minute matzah, right? What's the source for 18-minute matzah? Then this is the source, because if it goes a mil and it sits, if the dough sits or the flour sits with water for a mil, then it becomes chametz. Fine. So Amar Rabavo, Amar Rab Shimon ben Lakish, legavel.
Is 18 like? Is that would be the stricter or the more lenient?
What do you mean? The other shiurim is less than 18?
I mean, a mil.
Serious?
A mil is a timed amount. It's an approximate time that it takes to walk from there to there.
Oh, very good. You reminded me to say something. Yeah, very good here. So what are you saying?
So I'm asking, it doesn't seem like there's any argument on how long it takes you to go from A to B, but each person has different strides. Each person this, so we know it's a be'ereth. So right. Is this considered the more machmir or the more mekel? Is it someone saying, is it like a 16 to 18 or is it 18 to 20?
16 to 20. How's that? You knew you were going to get that answer.
Shkaya, thank you,
There you go. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it's going to be 16 to 20. You know what it's all based on? How many minutes you keep for Shabbat. For not all of it. That's a big sugya. But part of it is also some people, right? So part of it is that some people feel that it's not an 18-minute thing. You got to keep a 21 minutes. So therefore they add on another 12 minutes to Shabbos or whatever it is. That's part of what it's based on, right? But that reminds me, Taka. So, okay, it's not negay yet. 1 second. Well, let's see the next Gemara. So, Amar Rab Shimon ben Lakish. Legavel. Let's say somebody hires you to knead, again, K-N-E-A-D, to knead the dough, right? And the problem is that the guy who hired you is your Rashi says this whole case. The guy who hired you, his kalim are tameh. So the shaila is, how far out of the way do you have to go to get him tahor kalim? Now it's not usher to make somebody's dough tameh. It's just not. It's not a great thing to do. But so how far do you have to go? So that's what legavel means. Uletfila. We'll get back to what letfila means, to davening. Ulenatila sidaim, and to wash your hands. Arba milin. You have to go 4 mil, which again would be 72 minutes, right? 1 mil is 18, so 4 mil is 72 minutes. That's how far you'd have to go for kneading, for kneading, and for davening, and for natilas yadayim. Amar Rav Nachum bar Yitzchak, Aivu Amra va'arba Amarba. It wasn't Avahu, Rav Avahu, it was Aivu, and he said 4 things. The Chadaminayu, Avod, and one of the meaning, the 4th one was Avod, which is leather. The Tanan v'kulan she'ivdu, meaning. Let's see the Mishna first. The Tanan v'kulan she'ivdan aishahilach behen kidei avaida tahira. If you go on the skins, when you work the skins of the animal, or you walk on top of them the Gedei Avodah, the amount of Avodah, then they're going to be tar. Chutz me'ara adam, except for the skins of a person. Meaning, the halacha is that food, right? Skin that's theoretically edible can become tameh, but when you work over the skin until it's no longer a din of food, then it's no longer going to be able to be makabel tumah. So how long do you have to do that? So it's kedei avodah, right? But except for the skin of a person is always going to be makabel tumah, right? So how much is avodah? Amar Rav Anina, Amar Rav Yana, kedei hiluch arba milan. It's to walk 4 mil. Okay, fine. So now let's stop right there. So it comes out that there's 4 things that you have to walk 4 mil for. Well, I said walk, but it's for the kneading, the shiloh kneading something tameh, for davening, and for washing your hands, and then for this working the skins. Now, by the way, this is a time. It's not a amount, right? Because you say to go 4 mil nowadays. If you take a car, right? If we're saying that the measurement is to go 4 mil for netilas yadayim or for davening, so if you go in a car, it takes you about a minute and a half to go 4 mil. So does that mean that the furthest you have to go is a minute and a half, or do we say that it's a time measurement and it's 72 minutes? So we say it's 72 minutes regardless of the way that you travel. So you go on a train, it could be 100 miles. If you go on a car, it could be 70 miles. Sitting in traffic, it could be less, right? And if you walk, obviously, it's all based on time. It's not based on the distance travel, right?
So if you're going back to daven to minyan, it's let's say it's 10 minutes is the amount of time you have to go. When you hit 10 minutes and you were in traffic and you never got to the shul, you can stop.
What I mean, so the shear is 72 if you're traveling, right? That's what we're saying.
Whatever the shear is, and you didn't get.
I mean, once you hit the shear,
because of traffic, yeah.
I don't know. It's a good question. I'm not sure. Meaning, you hit the traffic. Do you turn around and go home, or do you continue? I'm not sure. I don't know. It's a good question. Right?
What about?
Go ahead.
What about the flip side of the same question? If I'm chayiv to travel 72 minutes, well, today we have airplanes and helicopters and stuff. Does that mean if I don't have a minyan in Cleveland, I'm chayiv to fly to JFK?
If the guy will give you his plane. That's only if the guy who's that rich guy in Cleveland will give you his plane. You don't have to hire a plane for $10,000 to go.
Why not?
Mincha.
Why not? If all we have is a shear of time.
You could figure it out yourself. Why not?
Okay.
What's that? You want to know if I'm a to go to the airport? What are you asking? What if time wise you got to go 72 minutes?
Yeah.
So we're going to see in the next Gemara that
It sounds like a Narish guy what he's saying, but the bottom line is if you change from an airplane to a helicopter, that's what we do. Someone gets into a serious car accident. They airlift him somewhere because a mill it's all in the eye of the beholder. Is it by foot? Is it by air?
I had the Shiloh once.
In the fear of Aaron screaming at me, it's not a really bad comment.
Thank you.
I didn't say it was bad. I said Gershon can answer it himself. I'm not sure if you could answer it yourself, but Gershon can answer it himself.
And I'm saying that I can't.
All right, so and I'm saying I can't either.
Tiago, I once had a guy
Now
wanted to be
you.
He wanted to do Kiddush Levana, and he wanted to rent a plane because it was the last night.
The Bava Rebbe did it by helicopter. Yeah, the Bava Rebbe did it by helicopter Kiddush Levana. Yeah.
There you go. Okay? Are you mechuyev to do that? I don't know.
So the person I asked said, no, absolutely not. You missed out. The Ramon Shalom made it cloudy. You know what I mean? You didn't go rent the plane and,
Hold on, listen, you're certainly not mechuyev to do it, but it's, yeah. Okay, but then the Gemara is going to say in the next line that's only in the direct, you only go 72 minutes in the direction that you go traveling. To go out of your way, which means that if you're home to go to minyan, then it's only 1 mil, which is 18 minutes. So you're not mechuyev to travel more than 18 minutes to go to a minyan, right? Or if you're in quarantine, so then also, but right. But that's you're not mechuyev to go more than 18 minutes. Now, 1 second. Here's where it gets very interesting. What does tefillah mean? So, right, the Gemara says l'tefillah.
Is it 18 minutes to get
So
back
Rashi
to your thing,
says-
or 18 minutes to get to mincha? And it's really like 36
18 minutes
in the
each
car.
way. 18 minutes each
It
way.
is.
Include
Okay.
yes, 36 minutes in the car, but including traffic, meaning if you know that it's going to take you 18 minutes with the traffic, then you don't have to. You go 18 minutes, right?
Yeah, no, I just want to know.
So
if
now,
it was,
what is
if
the
it-
chain l'tefillah? Third wide line in the Rashi, in the middle wide lines. We got to look at this because it's a major Rashi. The chain l'tefillah. In mahalach adam b'derech, a person's traveling, uba eis lalan, and it became time to go to sleep. Meaning he hit his hotel, ulispalo, and it became time to daven. Im yesh beis hakneses lefanov, berichuk arba milin. If there's a shul in front of him at a distance of 4 mil, hoylech u'mispalo sham, then he has to continue traveling for 72 more minutes, even though he's ready to pull over and stop his trip right then. You're still mechuyev. If you know there's a shul within 72 minutes forward, then you mispalo sham, v'lon sham, and then you stay there. Right? So Rashi is learning that you're mechuyev to go 72 minutes towards the direction that you're going in order to daven. Now, he doesn't mean beis hakneses l'chayra in an empty shul, right? He means to go to daven with a minyan, right? So this is a major makar. Ramosha Feinstein, Rabbi Rosner said this over, but it's Yedua. Ramosha Shita was that you're mechuyev to daven with a minyan. Ramosha was asked in a tshuva that a guy wants to learn very late at night, and that's when he can learn well, right? It's not disturbed, but he's going to miss minyan. He's going to sleep through minyan. Does he have to sleep through minyan? So Ramosha says, quotes this Rashi in Pesachim. That's the way he starts off the tshuva by saying, you see from this Rashi that it's a chiyuv to daven with a minyan, right? Based on this Rashi, right? So that's, even though in Shulchan Aruch it says yishtadel to daven with a minyan, but the place can say it means yishtadel means that you have to. It's really a chiyuv. Certainly, Ramosha holds that minyan is a chiyuv, and it's based on this Rashi right here in Pesachim.
So Yaakov,
Right?
I don't understand this. You find all over that Yidden lived in places where there was no minyan. Nobody told them they had to move to a city. They lived with it. They lived wherever they lived, and there was no minyan. There was no minyan.
No, right. So you're not mechuyev to. See, you're not. See, what about going on vacation with no minyan? Right?
That's a chiyuv, no?
It just got very quiet on this year.
No. Meaning,
You know, you're sure we know you're wearing a clean shirt. You don't have to keep on talking. Okay, we know already.
Yeah. But anyways, no.
It definitely does sound like it's saying you shouldn't move to a hick town.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that. It doesn't. You're mechuyev. No, if you're within 72 minutes, if you're traveling in that direction, then you're mechuyev to go to minyan. But if you're in a matziv, who says you're mechuyev to put yourself in a situation that you have a minyan? If I choose to live here, there's no minyan. There's no minyan. We had this conversation a few times. The Chayyim says, who says you're mechuyev to go buy a lulav and esrog a week before Pesach, a week before Sukkot? Certainly not before Pesach, right? But I'm saying, but a week before Sukkot. Who said you're mechuyev to do it? Right? If Erev Sukkot, you go out, you see, hey, there's a lulav here, no lulav here. Who says you have to be proactive? So I'm not so sure that that's correct. Question is, you live in a town with a minyan, can you go on a vacation? So obviously you have to take other mitzvahs into account, right? There's a mitzvah of being healthy, and if you have to go to a place that doesn't have a minyan for your health, whatever, that all plays into part of it. But
is this like what the Lubavitch go on with all the right? They go out places. There's no minyan.
Well, they hold that they're doing shlichus. It's more important. Yes, that would be the svara that they're going with.
No, the shul, the community that I grew up in, we all lived a mile from shul, and such.
So a mile. How long is a mile?
A mile is just under a mile.
It's like 15 minutes,
to walk
maybe.
to shul. It took us about 20 minutes to walk to shul in good weather.
So 2 minutes is what you got. You know what I mean? So
we were mechuyev to go to shul ever. On Shabbos.
You're not. No.
Right.
18 minutes. No, you were not. If 18, yeah, it depends how fast you walk, whatever it is. But really, you're not mechuyev. Yeah, 100%. Now, what's that? That's Shitas Rashi. Tosfos, second Tosfos down. Ulispalo, yeah, he says, Nira, I'm just spending some time on it because it's Kishmak and it's Negeya. Ulitfila Nira Kapirish Kudris, but like and not like the Aruch was a Rishon. The Pirish Latfila Hainu Lirchutz Yada Lispalo doesn't mean minyan. It means to go wash your hands before you daven, because like we learned this week, that you're mechuyev to do netilas yadayim before you daven. So the Aruch learns pshat that it doesn't say anything about minyan, but you're mechuyev to go 72 minutes out of your way to get water in order to wash your hands to daven. Right? Yeah, and then Tosfos asks Kashas why he doesn't like the Aruch's pshat. But you see the importance of washing your hands for davening. That's the bottom line.
Doesn't Rashi also talk about washing his hands? Same Rashi, right? Doesn't he also talk about
that's
washing his
netilas
hands?
yadayim. That's netilas yadayim.
Oh, okay.
That's for food. That's for food.
Not before
I imagine
davening.
that's correct. No, the netilas yadayim that we're talking about is for food, which again is another. Thank you for reminding me, Uri. Right? But whatever it is, you see the importance of washing your hands before you daven. We poo-poo it, right? We're busy washing our hands after the bathroom with kaisis and this and that. That's not like that's not the ikr. The ikr is to daven for davening. You got to wash your hands.
That was also Gemara and Brachos,
right?
wasn't it?
Yeah, this is Gemara Brachos. Yeah, 100%. Now for netilas yadayim, also very negeya, because people hear that you cover your hands and then you don't need to wash for bread. That's what netilas yadayim means. That if you're traveling and you got hungry, but within 72 minutes you're gonna have a sink with water, then you are not allowed to do this kula of covering your hands. It's only if there's no water 72 minutes in the direction you're traveling, or no water within 18 minutes out of your way, which I think is pretty feasible in most areas. Maybe on the way to Cleveland, there's a stretch there. You gotta, I don't know, you go 72 miles.
Yeah, going through Pennsylvania.
There's always something. There's
going
always
through Pennsylvania on the 80.
The 80 doesn't have some place to pull off.
Nah, it has plenty of places within 72 minutes.
72
well,
minutes a long time.
What are you averaging? 50 miles an hour on the 80 or 80 miles an hour?
I guess you're right. If you're driving 50, then maybe you don't have a place. Maybe. I hear that. But I don't think you should speed. Listen, we're being recorded. No speeding in order to make netilas yadayim.
That's Reb Yaakov. That's Reb Yaakov.
There's big signs 80 all over the road.
Reb Yaakov says that
yeah, go ahead.
Reb Yaakov says if you're saying tefillas derech, but if you go over the speed limit, tefillas derech don't help you. You have to listen to the law.
Right. No, it's true.
Didn't he add to that? The chayas rois that you mentioned in tefillas derech become go on you.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I hear that. That's yeah. But anyways, so that's that. Okay, so let's see weiter. So anyway, that's that sugi. So whatever it is, you see the importance of washing hands, even though Tosfos disagrees with the Aruch. But the bottom line is that the Aruch says to minyan you don't have to go. To wash your hands to daven, that you do have to. Right? Okay. So weiter in Gemara. Somebody Yosef Chanina. 3 lines up from the Mishnah. That's only to go forward 72. But if you want to go out of your way to minyan, then even a mil, afilu mil ain't a chayzer. Even a mil, you're not chayzer. Okay, 1 second. So Amar Rav Acha mina milhud ain't a chayzer. Hapachas mi mil chayzer. He's only saying a mil, you don't have to go back, but less than a mil, you do have to go out of your way in order to find according to Rashi, a minyan. And according to the Aruch, it's to wash your hands. And then also for the netilas yadayim for bread, and for the kneading case, which is not such a common case, and for working the things. Now, Rabbi Razda did say that Chidusha Rabbeinu David says that it means that you have to go out of your way you go out of your way a mil, or to go in the direction 72 minutes in order to go into the mikveh before davening. I didn't see. I don't have a Chidusha Rabbeinu David. I'm in quarantine, but that's what he said, and he said that's one of the makairos for toveling. According to that, it's toveling 3 times a day. I didn't look it up. If the Olam has access to Chidusha Rabbeinu David, it's a rishon that's only on psachim. That's what he said. He says, I didn't look it up, but that was pretty. Yeah, it was pretty wild too to say to that one. Okay. Anyways, fine. Zok the Mishnah. Yeah. Now this next Mishnah it gets us into some very big velt sugyas but the first part could be a little technical. Let's say a guy's making, and back in the days where somebody makes, where they made matzah on Pesach, right? So you're kneading your dough to make the matzah, right? And you got to take off challah, right? All of a sudden comes along a sheretz and lands in your bowl. Okay, now what do? To separate the challah, you got a problem, because once you separate it and you separate the challah, then you can't bake it because it's Yom Tov. You're not allowed to bake on Yom Tov for something that's not a need. Now, this challah can't be eaten by the kohen because it's tameh. So then there's no heter to bake it. How are you going to bake it? You're baking it for who? You can't give it to the kohen. To leave it, it's going to become chametz, right? And then to stop in the middle, what are you going to do? So basically, you're stuck. Talk about being stuck in a between a rock and a hard place. This would be that situation, right? Again, you're making dough on Pesach, and you have to be mafresh challah, and then it became tameh. So then you're in a quandary. What are you going to do? So we have a machlokes how to go about doing this. Keitam afrishin challah betumah b'yom tov. How do you separate challah when tumah on Yom Tov? So what you do is don't make it challah until you bake it, which is going to get into breira, and do you have that choice or not? Meaning, the minig is that we separate challah. By the way, what we do is really not. Most women, what they do is they wait for it to become dough, and then they take off challah. In Shulchan Aruch, it says no. When you mix the flour with the water, then you take it off. Okay, but you wait. Question is, can you wait until you bake it, or do you have to take off challah before? So Rabbi Eliezer is saying no, bake it. Bake it before it becomes challah, and then separate the challah, and then you could throw it out, right? Oh, there was one other option that you can't do. You can't burn it either, because how can you go burn? Well, you can't do it because on Yom. I thought we said that. Okay, whatever it is. So what he says is bake the matzah, and then take off the challah, right? Which is a common question that women ask, and we'll get to this at the end of the sugi, Be'ez Hashem, which is that they forget to take off challah, right? And then their challahs are in the freezer, and then they remember, oh, I didn't take off challah. So now what do? Okay, we'll discuss that. We'll discuss that later. But whatever it is, Rabbi Eliezer is to bake it and then take off the challah. But he says, no, put it into cold water. Put it into cold water. That'll stop the chametz, meaning separate the challah, put it into cold water. Amar Rabbi Yeshua, on Talmud Beis now, this is not the chametz that we have to be careful with the bayir matzah, right? Meaning, we said that you're allowed to see chametz that belongs to gavoya and acherim. It's only your own. Separate the challah. It's not your business what happens after that. Once you separate the challah, it becomes kaddish, and that's not yours. So it becomes chametz, and nothing to do with you, right? And certainly you didn't give it to the kohen, so it has nothing to do with the kohen, right? Ela mafrishto manichta ad ha'erev, and you separate it, and then you leave it until the evening. And if it became chametz, it became chametz. It's not your asik, right? It becomes shel gavoya. Those are the three eights in the Mishnah. Again, Rabbi Eliezer says bake it, then separate the challah. I think, who was it? Forgot now. Rabbi Yeshua. It was Ben Beseir says put it into the cold water. Rabbi Yeshua says it's not an issue because it's not your chametz. Okay, so Zok the Gemara. The Gemara now for the next two blot is going to try and figure out, with a lot of tangents, try and figure out what the machlokes is between them. So Lema b'tovas hanaah miflagi. Maybe the machlokes is talking about tovas hanaah. Now, what is tovas hanaah? This is a gishmaka scam that somebody could pull. A guy has a granddaughter, right? Or a grandson, a grandson. Let's go, a grandson, but the son of his daughter, right? Right. His daughter marries a kohen, and then they have a child, right? It's interesting that the case is not to pay somebody off to give it to his son-in-law. That he didn't do, right? Again, the guy, what you can do is you can go over to a guy and say, hey, can you support my grandson who's a kohen? And I'll give you $1 if you give him all your trumah and all your challah, whatever, right? So is that called being nene from Isser? Because it is a hanaah, he's supporting his grandson, right? So can you do that? So
it's a derivatives
that's maybe.
contract.
What do you say?
It's a derivatives contract. This is like
Very good,
options.
Avi. Said like a true financial guy, right? So the shaila is, are you allowed to do that? And that's called tovas hanaah. Say the common shaila with this is when somebody gets a prize from a tzedakah, right? You give tzedakah and you get a prize from them. That's tovas hanaah from giving tzedakah. Is that called income? Is not called income? Do you subtract it from your ma'aseh money? You not subtract it from your ma'aseh money, right? Or raffles. There's a certain hanaah that you get from a raffle. Can you buy $100 raffle ticket? Can you take off $100 from ma'aseh? Or can you only take off like 90 because $10 of it is a tovas hanaah that you're getting? Well, okay, so that's a shaila. But so here is that the machlokes. The Rabbi Eliezer savar tovas hanaah mammon. Rabbi Eliezer holds tovas hanaah is money, so therefore it's considered like it's partially yours. Meaning, so what does that have to do with this? Meaning, I have dough that's eventually going to make its way into a kohen's hands, but I have a portion of the money that's in this dough because I could theoretically give it to a kohen who will give me a kickback, right? He's going to give a kickback or whatever it is. There is epis hanaah that could be possible. So if that's the case, that's yours. So that's what Rabbi Eliezer says. You got to burn it first, otherwise you have an issue of it being your chametz. Rabbi Yehoshua savar, no, tovas hanaah ain't a moment. That tovas hanaah is not money. It's not considered yours. So therefore, you're allowed to let it become chametz. There's nothing to do with you, right? So that's what the Gemara thinks is case. So we say, Lloyd, the kuli al masavri tovas hanaah ain't a moment. Everybody holds tovas hanaah is not moment. Here we're talking about hooil. Now, hooil has a lot of different. We had this a couple of weeks ago, but hooil has a lot of different, not ramifications, different applications, right? So hooil is, since I could theoretically do A, maybe I could do B, even though I'm not doing A. Meaning, since A is theoretically possible, so then Memela I could do B. Let's see how that plays out. Right? Since he could theoretically ask, Itchel means to be shoyal, to be asked, take back his challah, so then it's considered his mammon, even though he's not taking it back. Rabbi Yehoshua savar, we don't say hoyel, and it's not considered yours. Meaning, this is, and the practical case for this is, let's say somebody is baking challah in the house. Believe it or not, this does happen, and they take off challah, and then somebody walks by and says, "Hey, a piece of your challah fell out of the bowl," and dumps it back in. Now what? It's not batel, right? So now what do you do? So the psak is that you find a bezdin of 3, and you're mater neder on that challah, and then you take it off again, right? So theoretically, so what we're saying here, Rabbi Eliezer is saying, is that theoretically, you could be mater neder on this challah that became tameh. Go to get a bezdin of 3, be mater neder. Now this challah is back to being yours. Since you have that possibility, hoyel, since, right? Hoyel means since you have the possibility to take back this challah, therefore it's considered partially yours, right? And memela, you have a yad in it, and if it becomes chametz, it's going to be part of your problem. And Rabbi Yehoshua says, no, it's not. We don't say hoyel. So even though theoretically in the right scenario, it can become yours, but the bottom line is right now it's not yours. We don't say hoyel, and therefore you're allowed to keep it as challah and let it become chametz and nothing to do with you. Yeah, fine. So that's the first shot. So now the Gemara is going to go through all these scenarios of hoyel and ask questions on it. So right now the Gemara is thinking that Rabbi Eliezer holds of hoyel and Rabbi Yehoshua does not hold of hoyel. So itmar ha'oifim yom tov l'chol, somebody who bakes on yom tov for the weekday. Rav Chisda Amar Loika, if you do that, if you bake on yom tov for the weekday, you get malchus. Rabba Amar ain't Loika. Rabba says you don't get malchus. Rav Chisda Amar Loika, lo yamrin hoyel u'makalele archim chazile. We don't say since maybe archim are going to come, meaning yom tov afternoon. You decide to bake challah for matzah yom tov. So maybe the reason why he holds, the reason why Rav Chisda says you get malchus is because you don't say hoyel. Well, let's go with the other side first. Rabba says you don't get malchus because you say hoyel. Maybe a guest will come in the Yom Tov afternoon, and you're going to want to serve him fresh bread. even though it may not come to that, but since there is a possibility that you can serve this fresh bread, so therefore you're not going to get malchus, because there is a possibility of you using it on Yom Tov. And Rav Chisda doesn't agree to it.
Does it have to be a realistic possibility?
Yeah, so it would have to be realistic. It would have to be a minute before the Zman would be very difficult to say this, right? That's what we'll get to that in a minute. So that's what we're thinking is the Machlokes, yeah.
There's a Rav Kivega that talks about making gebroks in a non-gebroks town. Can you do that?
I mean, because can you say Hoyel?
Are going to eat it.
Right. It's Rav Kivega saying that. Can you say if you eat gebros in a town that nobody's going to eat it, so there's no Hoyel Makalei Archim, and assuming that you're out of the tchum from any place else, so do you have Hoyel? Yeah. But anyway, so that's what we're saying is the Machlokes. So Amarli Rabba Rav Chisda. So Rabba asked Rav Chisda, Lididachta Amar Lo Yarin and Hoyel. So according to you, that you don't say Hoyel. Hey, Yom Tov l'Shabbos. So how do you bake challah from Yom Tov to Shabbos? Now, if you're holding, you're not allowed to prepare from Yom Tov to the week. So how do you do from Yom Tov to Shabbos? Tavshilin. He says because we make an eruv tavshilin, right? You bake something on eruv Yom Tov, and we consider it all like continued. So he asked the back of eruv tavshilin sharina nisuru daraisa. Because of eruv tavshilin, you are allowed to do an issa. Eruv tavshilin is a takana from the chachamim. That's going to allow you to be over an issa daraisa baking on Yom Tov for Shabbos. No, he tells him, Midaraisa, you're allowed to bake from Shabbos to Yom Tov. This is the way we paskin with eruv tavshilin. Rabbanon who the gazer bake zera, shami yomer oifim Yom Tov af l'chol, and the Rabbanon make the zera that perhaps they're going to say that you're allowed to bake from Yom Tov to Chol. The kimen datzuchu Rabbanon eruv tavshilin, and since the Rabbanon require eruv tavshilin, islay hakera. Then there's a hecker to tell that to you. So you're not being, eruv tavshilin is not being mater and issa daraisa. Eruv tavshilin is only being mater issa darabanan. Again, he's answering back that to cook from Yom Tov to Shabbos is allowed because it's from kedusha to kedusha. We're afraid the Chacham made exerted not to bake from Yom Tov to Shabbos because we're afraid you're going to think that you could also bake from Yom Tov to the weekday. And eruv tavshilin acts as a reminder to tell you that that's okay, right? But again, the Paiskim say. Then there's other reasons also why you make eruv tavshilin. Bez Hashem, when we get to Beya, we'll do that. But in because of this shita, like the doctor just said, that's why you should not, even with your eruv tavshilin, you should not cook right before. Well, actually, I'm mixing it up. It's for the other reason. Okay, but still with eruv tavshilin, you should not cook right up to Shabbos. You should do it a little bit before because we're mixing Hoyel also. Yeah.
Don't we warm up 2 gallons of soup to give 2 ounces to the 2-year-old?
Yeah, because we do say Hoyel. We do say Hoyel. Yeah, we do. We do paskin Hoyel. Yeah. Okay, so that's the one shagavatay. Then Eisvei behema mesukenes, a behema that's going to die, but it's not a treifa. It's mesukenes. So you want to shecht it on Yom Tov because you think if you're going to wait till after Yom Tov, you're going to lose the animal. It's going to die. So lo yishchad elakadesh yachal lechal imenu kizayis tzime b'ayid yom. You're only allowed to shecht it if you have enough time to shecht it, skin it, and then roast it all b'ayid yom, which means that you can't do this 5 minutes before shkia. Yachal I'm sorry. Behem b'sukenes lo yishchad elakadesh yachal lechal imenu kizayis tzime b'ayid yom. Right. So then yachal lechal afagav delay boy lemechal. It only has to be yachal lechal. He has to have the ability, even though he doesn't want to eat it. Right?
Is it a treifa?
No, it's not a treifa. That's what I'm saying. It's not a treifa. It's just mistukenes. It's old. You know what I mean? It could very well be that it's going to live out. You don't know. It's just in a sakana, so you want to make sure to shecht it before. So Bishlam Eludi Damri Hoyel. So he says, according to me that I say Hoyel, so Hoyel v'yiboy lemeichel matzi achel. Since there is a possibility for you to eat it, then you could eat it. So Mishum hachi yishchad, therefore you're allowed to shecht it, even though you don't have to necessarily eat it, just have the ability to. But according to you, who doesn't say Hoyel, amai yishchad, why can you shecht it? Why is he allowed to shecht it? He's allowed to shecht it because otherwise he's going to lose his animal if the animal dies. So because of hefsid mammon, you're going to allow isur daraisa, right? Meaning shechting on Yom Tov is only necessary for Yom Tov, not for something that's not going to really be necessary for Yom Tov. Amalei in mishum hefsid mammon, because of hefsid mammon, gomar baliba lechol kazayis. He decided he will eat a kazayis of this meat, even though he doesn't want it. But because that will get him out of losing his animal, then he's allowed to. And it's not possible to eat a kazayis basar without shchita. So that's so those so far two kashas about back and forth about whether you say hoil or not on Yom Tov. Okay, we'll continue this tomorrow night. Bez Hashem. All right. Good night, everybody.
You too. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh man, Eliyahu, I forgot to tell him happy birthday. Rabban, happy birthday. I meant to announce it to the Oilum. They left already. Happy birthday, Rabban Horowitz. We don't know what number it is, but we hope he has many, many more with a lot of nachas.
Amen.
Yeah.
7-3. 7-3.
Oh, okay, the last Mets World Series. No, 86. Okay. That's the way we think. Okay, sure. Never.
All right, 10 years to your bar mitzvah.
Yeah, that's right. That's
if you could borrow Sviakov's cardigan, you could look about 20 years older.
I meant to change my sweater today. I forgot. I've been wearing the same one. I was going to find. I have another one but okay for you.
I was running out of room on my email. I was going through some old emails. I found our going away barbecue for Adlerstein. Okay, I gotta show it to you. Icky, forget about you. Look different. You look like 50 years younger.
As long as he doesn't say who are the people on your input.
I don't think Naftali. I think I know what you're. I think it's the one I'm talking about. I think it was for Tzion. No,
was it for Tzion? Where Sviakov sitting on the floor?
On the floor. I think it was for Tzion when he moved to Manalapan.
Oh, really? It was even before Adlerstein.
Yeah, it was before.
Yeah, I gotta find it. Crazy. Let me see.
Does your mother still have hanging up the picture from years ago that I took of you in the Beis Medrash?
Oh, I don't know where that is.
Didn't you have a picture on your bookcase, Icky?
That's that picture. I made a copy for the Rebbitzin. She wanted a copy 15 years ago. I don't know how long ago.
Wow.
I gotta find that.
Whatever.
All right.
It's the Yaakov.
Yeah.
I bet you somebody has it on their arm, Icky.
Yaakov.
Liners tattooed.
Yes, sir.
I was thinking about what we were discussing last night after Shir.
Oh, come on. Today's a much more geschmacka subject. You can't discuss tonight. You have to go with Tam Ke'iker. Okay.
I'll get there. I have to Chazar first.
All right.
No, not the Tam
go
Ke'iker.
ahead.
The term Kazayas B'chteichilas Pras, right? I mean, just take the one who says 9 minutes. That's not one mouthful. Even if it's just to do with time, not to do with volume.
Right.
Because Kazayas B'chteichilas Pras definitely means more than one mouthful.
Kazayas B'chteichilas Pras means more than one mouthful. Correct. Yeah, that's true.
Right? And it definitely only works for Basaka. There's no Kazayas B'chteichilas Pras. Doesn't exist.
I don't understand. What are you saying?
B'zeh Chazeh is Soiser Kazayas B'chteichilas Pras. You don't anymore have the time limit of Kazayas B'chteichilas Pras. Once it's B'zeh Chazeh.
Right.
Ain't it's a mitzaref. Nothing's mitzaref B'zeh Chazeh. Right?
Right.
So the whole Kazayas B'chteichilas Pras is only B'basakas. His
so you say, are you asking a kasha? How can you? How can
no,
you?
His kasha doesn't work. He was trying to prove that the three.
Why you ain't coughing, are you?
I cough. It's my regular cough. My wife, by the way, is coughing mamish like crazy. She feels like she has the flu and all that. She already flunked 2 coronas. She took one right now during the daf and one this morning.
She should continue to flunk now.
What?
She should continue to flunk now.
I hope so, but to be this sick and not have it, it's a shtickle.
Get
Yeah.
the steroids. Get the steroids. They helped me
Yeah.
a lot.
She became a fully fledged Stein. He's a Gevarner Stein, not a Gebarner.
Yeah. Anyway, so what are you saying? So you're saying Kedei Achilas Pras is not shayas unless it's
He was asking. He was asking that the three kaisos in Rashi by Kedei Achilas Pras is Bezeh Chazeh.
Right.
It can't be. I was saying Bezeh Chazeh means there's some kind of hefsek between the achilas. It has to be that way. Kedei Achilas Pras is not one mouthful. It can't be. It can't possibly be one mouthful.
Right, correct.
So that destroys his question. His question doesn't work.
I hear.
Yeah, on tonight's where does it? My question from before. Where, are there any other gedarim, or is it all just based in time?
I don't know. You mean how hard a work is it, right?
I mean,
let's say you, Lamashal, you're mechuyev to walk 18 minutes. You're mechuyev to walk 18 minutes to shul.
That's approximately what it takes me to get to the closest shul is about 20 minutes for me.
There has to be tircha involved. It can't just be a time-related thing.
Anyway, for me, I'm gonna be a mess the whole rest of the day if I go to shul.
Right. So I mean, it is totally in how.
Yeah, but then you have a say. I can't. The assay of davening with a minion. Let's call it an assay, even for whatever, right?
Yeah.
That assay is not doicha any other assay. I have a mitzvah to my wife and kids the whole day. What? So that should go out the window because of davening with a minion?
Right.
Jervil
might come by for a test. Right.
Well, that's beside. But even if it wasn't, even if I was going to be fine for the rest of the day.
Correct.
Then what?
I don't know. I mamash don't know. You know what else is negeya similar? So you're supposed to pay more money to give a yid parnasa, right?
Yeah.
So we say 10%, whatever the price can say, 10% more to give a yid, right? What about tircha?
Yeah, right? I've had the same. Yeah, I don't know. Let's talk.
I don't know.
We also say to do a mitzvah, you have to some mitzvahs or all mitzvahs, you have to spend a fifth, right? The chaimish.
Yes.
So would I be if this chiyuv of davening with a minion, is that the same thing? Is it just as much a chiyuv? It's a mitzvah. I have to spend a fifth. So maybe I do have to buy a plane ticket to JFK.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, it only lasts me 1 million because after that, a fifth is a lot less. But yeah.
Yeah, listen, Pashtus, the Lashon Shulchan Aruch is Yishtadel anyway. So Yishtadel means you should try. But
yeah,
without
I never understood
the
the
word
Pashtus to say that means a chiyuv. How does that mean a chiyuv? The Beis Yosef is shy all of a sudden? He's scared to say chayiv? How is this supposed to be chayiv?
It's yeah, it's a shver. I mean, this was a big corona shot. This was mamash a big corona shot.
Well, once you're chayiv, you're chayiv. You still puts it in your hands.
Yeah, but Ramosha Feinstein says you're chayiv based on that Rashi in tonight's Gemara. Ramosha says you're chayiv.
That's fine. He argues with the mechaber a few times. It's not the first time.
He's not arguing. He's saying pshat in the mechaber. He's not arguing.
He's saying tight, whatever. Yeah, okay, fine. But that's the way Ramosha. You sent me that shiur, that lecture from from what's his name, Gunnar. Yeah. That's how Ramosha learns. He came out with psak. You go through the Gemara, you go through this one, you come out with a psak. Fine.
Right.
It doesn't mean that that's necessarily what the mechaber meant. So, I mean, I can argue and say the mechaber didn't mean to peel.
Correct.
TY, on a completely different note, TY, you should probably try to get your hands on the steroid because coughing is coughing. So why would you not get the steroid to help the coughing, no matter what?
I cannot I cough a few times a day. No different than I do anyway.
Your wife's hacking it up.
For her, she's on so much stuff already, man. She is on so much stuff. I don't even know what the.
Okay, so she got stuff. Okay, she's talking to somebody with an MD next to their name. Wherever it is.